would you believe that rust is a problem on FIAT Dino Spiders? Or any Fiat for that matter. Shocking. So yeah, they rot really badly, or they can do. So this is a prime example. So from underneath, this looks quite good, this floor plan. This metal's quite good. Yeah, it's got loads of holes in it. We can see that. But actually the metal itself is quite smooth. But we flip it over the other side and we can see where it's all pop marked. And that's what's happened. The water's got into the car and it's sat underneath the carpet and rotted it all out. So underneath, when this had the coating on it, it looked really good. Yeah, actually, you wouldn't have guessed this was this bad until we stripped it down and had it blasted. Well, of course, when we stripped it down, we could see in here that there was issues. So I knew we were going to have problems. So the rear floor pans on the Dino Spiders are an issue, and I make new ones and replace them as required. But to make them, I've got tooling, and this tooling I've decided to finesse and get it to a bit of a better level, which is what this is all about, which is what I'm working on. So I've been making these steel blocks today to finesse the tooling. So before, I was using these bits of oak. I had those before. And before that, I had bits of pine, but the pine split and it was no good at all. But we're moving on from this. We're making it better each time, really. So that's the thing, is to evolve, isn't it? That's the plan. So I've made these so they bolt on. That one's sorted. This one is trial fitted on. You can see it bolts on from behind there. So if I slacken that off, right, we can see now, with that slack, we can move that around to set it up, get it in just the right place. So that's what I was going to do, is set that up, and then we can drill a couple more holes, get it set up properly, get it just where it wants to go. So I've set that up, back mark that so I know where I'm at. So that wants to go about there. Something like that. So if I nip that up there, yeah, if I nip that up there, that will give me something to work with. But what I've got to do is drill 2 more holes through from the back, and then I can tap it. And the idea is with it done like that, if I tap it from, I can bolt it on. And the reason I want to bolt it on is, to begin with, I might want to change, when I start making the first one, I might want to change how it's orientated slightly. And that gives me the ability to do that if it's bolted on. Whereas if I weld it on, which I might do eventually once I'm happy with them, is weld them, because I've left room for a fillet there and I can put it through there. So that's what I might do eventually. But for now, we're just going to bolt them on, because it's development work. So with that nipped up like that, what I can do is put a drill through from behind to give me, so I drill through here, I can end up like that with 2 more bolts in it, which will hold it rigid. So if I grab the drill, we'll do that. So drilling through here, we should give us a datum to work to, and we'll put it on the mill, finish them on there, but let's have a see. There we are. So that's where, that shows us where we're going to drill. So we've got to drill it out to a bit bigger, then we've got to tap it so that we can put the bolts through. So let's do that, but we'll do that on the mill. Right, we'll get this set up. Make sure there's no swarf underneath it, that will set it, otherwise it will not sit level. And there, like that. We'll get that done up. And then we want to get that set up in the right place. Yep, that'll do. Lock the bed off so nothing moves. And we get that one drilled. Right, we go up a size. So we do this whilst we're still locked off and in the same place, which means it will stay centralised where it wants to be. Right, we unlock the bed, now move that along and we'll just tap it. Put a thread in there. Put a touch of oil on that. Now another reason for doing this like this and bolting it on is that if I want to shim it up, if I decide I need a bit more height under it, then I can. You know, there's all sorts of, you know, I'm open to, you know, doing different things, which is part of why I'm cutting these threads so deep, so that if I need to shim it up, you know, it doesn't matter, or shim it down, you know, I can put longer bolts in there. You know, I get plenty of thread in it. So it's just sort of keeping my options open, which is what you have to do with this sort of stuff, you know, when you're sort of developing something, a bit of tooling. I think I went straight in with the second. This is the first, I went in with the second. That's probably why it went a bit wobbly when I was first starting. Anyway, we use the third now. So each one takes a deeper bite effectively and has less taper on it. These start with a taper, you see, so it gives you something to start with. Anyway, the paid, and of course the bottom has it's straight across the bottom rather than pointy. Anyway, you want to learn about cutting threads, I'm sure this video is just about that. I've just got to take these holes out because they had self-tappers in it where we had the oak. So I've got to take them out so it will take some of these bigger bolts. So let's get this bolted on and see what we got. Right, we'll tip it up so we can just check its position before we do it up, before we nip it up. Right, let's just give us something to work with. Now, I'll just open this up a bit so we can balance it better. And then we'll have a see what we're dealing with. So this is off the car we're working on. It actually isn't as bad as that other one, nothing like as bad, but we have got some rust in it here. and the other side of the floor pan's worse on the other one. But we can see we've got corrosion in here. It's gone through there, and a bit here, which is where they go, and it's starting to corrode there. So, you know, let's replace it, be done with it, do it properly. So the idea is that bit there will sit down in there, and then this is where these go. So we've got to sort of roughly see where it fits. So it should go, yeah, that sort of sits okay, doesn't it? So we just clamp this on. It's getting there, but yeah, that'll sit down in about where we want it to go, because what we've got to do, we've got to form all this, and then we've got to chase that in. So this has got to come off of here and work, if you see what I mean. So what we're looking for is for these to line up with these edges. Yeah, so you imagine what we've got to do is this has got to fit over here, and then we've got to chase this down this side here. So it's got to, if we look at the inside, we'll see what we're going for. We're trying to look for that to line up through there. That's what we're trying to do. So it wants to follow that edge, and again the same this side. Now this one I think we might have to move over a bit. This is part of why I'm bolting them on to begin with, and then of course this has all got to line up as well. So the whole thing's got to work. You know, that's the whole point of it. So we're getting there, but I might have to move this around a bit. We'll do a bit more work on it, I think, and have a see. But that's the beginnings of making a floor pan. So you can see these are going to be these areas here and there. And you have this hollow in there. So you can see what we're trying to do. We want to end up with this clamped on here. And then these contours here are going to follow that, you see. So effectively, we're going to end up with something like that. So that wants to end up in place there. Let's just clamp this on so you get a feeling for what we're trying to do. Right, now I want to just clamp these down, so I'll grab a couple more clamps and we'll see what we got. So there we are, so you can see that sort of clamped on, it's giving us the beginnings of what we're trying to deal with here, so we can chase that in round there to give us some of it. Now this I've done on the wheel, this is just the, you know, roughing out to the beginning of the job really. So I'll just get a little mallet to show you roughly what we can do with it. We'll just use this rubber mallet to begin with to see what we're doing. So you can see how we're starting to see this raising there. We can see that coming through there like that. So you can see it gives some of that too. So yeah, the beginnings of it. This is something you have to come back next week for. But it's really, the purpose of today's video is to show you what I'm doing with this tooling, and you know what the idea is, so that we can allow us to do these. You know, it allows us to get this shape. So we've got to get a lot of this shape in anyway. We've got to make the thing and make the right shape, but then we can just finish it over here once we get enough shape into it. That's the plan. But you see, it's quite awkward because you've got this area coming up and going there, and then that goes in completely the opposite direction and dives into a valley there. And of course this would be stamped out, wouldn't it, on a big, you know, great big press, wouldn't it? So you'd have a male and female tooling, they'd chuck that in there and then bang, it'd come down and make it, and that'd be it. But obviously I'm going to have to do it by hand, which is what all this is about. But yeah, this is going to work, this is going to be the thing. So I'm quite pleased with that, and that's a good start. But so I might have to adjust this around a bit, which is the whole point of why I've got them bolted on, so that I can, you know, I can move them if need be. And so I can shimmer them if I want to, and then when I've finalised it, when I'm happy with it, I can weld them on. And you know, it can be done and left for good. So that's it. That's the plan. But there'll be more of that next week. So yeah, tune in next week for more. All right, good night.